All right, we're back, and it's still Crossfire with Dapo and Ishoma. Like I told you earlier on when we came into the studio, Ishoma is unavoidably absent. She's on leave. She needs to rest. She's been working really very hard, and so I have the privilege to anchor the show alone this week. I mean, that will be today and tomorrow. All right, stay with us on Crossfire. Don't forget, Crossfire is your show, is our show. You can let us know exactly what you feel about any of the issues that will be raising on the show. I have two gentlemen who have joined us in the course of the show, and they will be doing justice to a couple of issues that will be raising on the show today. My first guest on the show, it's a newcomer. He's not a learner, but a newcomer, as in this is the first time he's gracing our platform. And it's someone that I've read his post a couple of times, and I know that he actually argues very balancedly. And so let's meet great Imo Jonathan. Great, good to have you on Crossfire this morning.
My pleasure.
All right, I have another gentleman. He's a barrister, very erudite and very learned. I am educated. Great is educated. But he's a learned person, and he's no other person but barrister Liberoso Shoma.
My pleasure. I was shocked when you introduced Ide as a newcomer, and I said, okay, new on this
platform. Yeah.
This man.
Oh yes, I've known him. I've read. I've been following him very closely.
You know, because as a lawyer, he knows about everybody's case, so he has a file of all your clients.
Of all our clients. Just like he was telling you, sit like this, you'll be sitting into the camera.
Yes.
If you sit that way, the camera may not pick you very well. So he's very familiar. He's a staff. He just doesn't carry an
always
ID card.
listen to your lawyer before anything goes on.
All right, gentlemen. Things seems to be happening, around us. Nigeria, as big as this country is, and unfortunately, we cannot but, lay emphasis on the fact that in 2015, the expectations of Nigerians very high. The hopes were raised. And the bar, seems to be like, an insurmountable bar in the sense that everybody in Nigeria went out en masse to vote for change. The APC came very strong on a change mantra, and we went all out, to change the government because the then government led by former President Goodluck Jonathan seems to have lost credibility, seems to have lost touch with the people, and people just wanted something totally different. And now, in 2015, we voted for change. People have been expecting, since May the 29th, the Buhari-led administration was sworn in, and since that time, we started a race, that probably is not leading anywhere. People are beginning to wonder what the package, what the surprise, what the change we voted for will bring to the common man in Nigeria. Government seems to be so self-centered these days because everything borders around the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative arm of government. We don't seem to be talking about the people. The pain of the common man, that we can't buy food. There's poverty in the land. People do not even have money to spend, to live their lives. School fees cannot be paid. So many things are happening at the same time, and companies are folding up and therefore making unemployment to be like the order of the day, because a lot of people are out of jobs and many more people are still to go. And so on Crossfire today, we just want to educate and bring, some things to fore. And let us just look at the program of the federal government and, vis-a-vis how it translates into a better life, for Nigerians. Now, my major concern is that in 2015-2016 budget, even though there was a very huge delay, but eventually it was released. And when it was appropriated and it became a bill, unfortunately for us, we thought it was going to translate almost immediately to better life for Nigerians. It was the budget of hope that time, from a paradigm shift completely from what people were experiencing and what people seems to be experiencing as at then. But that budget has since come and gone. Now we have a new budget, and that's the 2017 budget. It has been termed as the economy of growth, as a budget of growth and economic recovery, as it were. Do you see this happen? In 2017 budgets that have been signed into law. But gentlemen, before we go into talking fully about the topic for today, which I just introduced, I just need to quickly take your thoughts on some of the stories, that are making headlines. CCT released Bukola Saraki, that it can go. Even though we still have like a threefold allegation hanging on top of his head. One, on the budget, on the, what is it called? On the case of false declaration of his assets when he became the Senate president. That case didn't start when he became the Senate president. I think it came more into public light when eventually he became the Senate president. But truth be told is that we have in that list things that were declared that he did not own. We have things that he actually owned that were not declared. And then we have a third case of less declaration of some of the things he actually owned. What's your thought on the CCT to allow Bukola Saraki to go?
Well, permit me to say that I'm afraid that I'm beginning to think that there are the prosecutors, the prosecuting counsel, and some of those investigating the case appear to be in connivance, to mismanage the case. Okay. And to free Saraki, because try as much as you can. As much as there are, maybe we can observe there are evidences, but until you prove beyond reasonable doubt, as lawyers will say, the judge is under obligation to do the needful. That is, what is the needful here? Follow the law. And if somebody who had investigated came back with a report that one house in Ikoyi was supposed to be at 13B, then eventually there was no 13B. They will give a lot of room, a lot of opportunity for the case to be scuttled. I know how we all feel, especially in Nigeria, in a country where the law requires you that accuses somebody to prove it.
Beyond every reason.
You have the burden of proof is on you. If it were in other crimes, the law will require you to prove how you acquire those things. But here in Nigeria, it is you who accuses that must prove. So if you have accused the Saraki, the Senate president, you needed to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And whereby you see that some of these people who have been working for government, earning government salaries, who have been prosecuting counsel for very many years, and they are not winning cases for government. It is alarming. So I'm beginning to think that if they, like some people have, some side comments I've been hearing. Some people have accused the CCT chairman of collecting bribe or whatever.
Okay.
But I don't think that is actually the case. What I suspect is that
there's a connivance or a compromise.
There's a compromise with those who investigated the case to bring something that could easily allow Saraki to have escaped from.
All right, thank you. Good.
And not only in his own case, in many other cases, you keep wondering why very obvious issues are very mismanaged in courts, and that is the issue.
All right, Barrister Oshoma, I need you to come out. To come in into this, into making your contribution from this angle. First of all, do you believe in what Great said? And secondly, do you think that the fight, that government is appealing, the fact that government is appealing against the judgment of the CCT, is it in the right direction? Do you think it's worth it, or they should just allow Buki Saraki to go?
I am not in the government team, and as I speak to you now, I still have not digested that judgment in total. So I won't say they should appeal or they should
but you've been following the case.
Yes, I've been following. But if I take it from Orubebe's case, I already know the mind of the Court of Appeal, as regards this matter, and then also coupled with a few things that happen in, at the Supreme Court. So you can, it's almost as if, there is a silent war going on, So things that the court ordinarily would have closed its eyes to before now. Since we all are fighting corruption. Exactly. And then since we are also, on trial, they say when a judge sits on trial, the judge is on trial. And so since we are also on trial from the raid that's of the DSS, by the DSS, so let's, try and be above board. And so issues that ordinarily you would have closed your eyes to, you say, no, you prove before me. The law requires that you prove. And so mine is to look at issues and balance them and give judgment. And so I perceive from that perspective. I also believe what my friend and brother has said, that when you shout judiciary, also, sometimes look at the investigating team and those prosecuting. And then also look at the government itself. Okay. what gave rise to this case? The fact that Saraki, defied the party's instruction to emerge as the Senate President. And the CCT is an administrative panel under the Secretary of the Government of the Federation to deal with misconduct of public officials, both in the executive,
so we
legislature.
seem to have a jurisdiction problem.
No. And so, for that, it is squarely within the ambit of the executive and not the judiciary.
Okay.
And so, if you now saw the moment Saraki was put on trial, like I said, you now saw that silent battle between the National Assembly and the executive. Don't you also think that, with all of these peace meetings and, trying to build bridges, that the executive also would have sat down with the legislature and said, look, let's bury the hatchets. Let's find a way of
bury the hatchets,
pushing this aside. And then when the outcry, it's okay, let's appeal the judgment so that it does not look as if we gave in. All of these are possible.
Okay.
So when you look at what is happening and the fact that the way public office, the way corruption thrives in public office, and the fact that, Nigerians, government can close its eyes to certain things and look the other way. Anything is possible. And so, while also I would not want to blame the prosecutors too much, also they have instructions from somebody who might say, look, we have agreed that it should be this way, and so let it be that way. In the same vein, I do not see, now speaking legally, why you investigate a matter and then the witnesses that you have will come and be singing different tunes.
Okay.
This one says a different thing. This other man says a different thing.
That's it.
Right. So you will give room for suspicion. And then conclusively, last week you heard the chairman and the secretary of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption quarreling that, look, we give you advice you refuse to follow. It is not in every case that you must go for conviction. There are some, if you look at the provisions of the law, you know it will be difficult. On those ones, let's find a way of recovering looted funds.
Okay.
While you continue further investigation to see how you can, there's no statute of limitation to criminal matters. In some other cases, you say, okay, if I can't recover, I will go for conviction. So these are the
pros and
issues,
cons.
yes.
I mean, you look at because of time, I will just want to take our thoughts on the INEC introduction and emphasis to use information technology to drive the next election. They want to. We've gone to. Already our election processes is gone. Is being driven by technology already since 2015 by the introduction of the card reader and the introduction of the PVC. Now, the concern that I have is that, Professor Mahmood, the chairman of INEC, is of the opinion that we should advance technology coming 2019. Don't forget that we still have a lot of hanging issues on the use of the card reader in cases where it failed, and we have a lot of cases still pending in court.
Please permit me, great.
You're welcome. Yeah, just make your comment, Chuck, so that we can address...
Quickly. I expected the end of an election cycle begins it's the beginning of another election cycle. At the expiration of last election, we ought to have, during INEC retreats, they would document all the lapses to work on. I expected that we ought to have started immediately from there, first and foremost, to amend the laws to ensure that the card reader, because most elections, like Rivers State elections and Akwa Ibom, that were upheld by the Supreme Court was on the basis of this card reader. So we ought to have found a way of ensuring that card readers are part of our electoral laws, so as not to give lacuna for those manual voting.
Well,
and then also, quickly,
okay.
also, you talked about card readers' failure. One would have expected that we would have improved tremendously on those failures by now, so that when we talk about technology, some fear exercised by some people is the fact that technology will fail. How about where it fails and you are not able to provide backup? And so you see elections in states where elections are staggered. It is easy for you to deploy all the card readers that you have. Exactly. But when the elections are not staggered, you're going to have the same problem. So that is why I expected that from last year, we ought to have been test running these equipments.
Yeah, but
so that
INEC is an independent body. You wouldn't know if that is being done in-house. You would not know. I mean, as an independent body, they don't need to come into the public eyes to tell you what they are.
If Nigerians know about them trying to employ technology in the coming election, there is literally nothing about INEC we don't know. But let me also emphasize that my fear here is that the people who will make the laws, the electoral laws you are talking about, that will enhance whatever instrumentality that is required to do, are the same people in the National Assembly. Some of them have criminal records.
No, they have amended the Electoral Act.
Already
amended it.
And I can assure you that some of them are not ready to face the electorate. Whatever technology that you are going to employ, as you are thinking about it, they're also thinking of how to subvert it. As much as I know that some of them are confident, but I know that so many of those guys in the National Assembly and some of these governors, if the elections were to be free and fair, if the laws of the land were to be followed, if technology is accurately employed to drive the processes, I can assure you that some of these people will not be in government. Okay. And they know that very well. They are not ready to face that challenge as of today. Most of those guys in the National Assembly, some of these governors, imagine that in 2010, the Electoral Act 2010 as amended required you to have what papers and required you to have also, whenever you publish your document, you also required to swear an oath, declaring that whatever you are presented in this oath is true, and you are held liable. And in the event that any of this information is found to be false, you will lose your election. Exactly. But yet, that was as far back as 2010. But in 2017, the Supreme Court in Nigeria gave judgment allowing somebody whose tax record does not tally and who have taken his tax papers, who has gone to court to swear an oath to say every information I presented is there. And now the Electoral Act has amended, as the one they've just amended, now says you don't even require any of those whether your tax record or not. So are we going forward or not? Technology or no technology? Yeah. The foundations for which the technology will help improve are not there. So
considering the strength, don't forget that the card reader rides on internet facilities. And we know that almost all hold on barrister. We know that almost all the telcos are not giving us the
as I'm talking to you right now, I bet you there are certain areas you can't get some certain network.
Yes. It will be foolhardy for us to throw our hands up in the air in submission to say, oh, because we don't have these things, so it won't work. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. We say, No,
I have not said so. I'm actually in support of the use of technology.
From where Dakpo said about data usage and the rest.
And the rest of it.
Can you imagine you don't have accurate sensors? Do you know why?
Yeah, I agree with you.
It is deliberate. These people who are manipulating the sensors are the ones who manipulate the elections. Because where there is accurate sensors, where you are not afraid of it.
About the people. It's about number. It's a
country who does not have accurate sensors. How can you have accurate elections? It's a number.
No, it's not a. Let's talk to ourselves.
Okay, we are listening to you.
Your elections, your SIM card registration can help your census. If you do it right. Forget about whether you decided to.
So why is it not done right?
Wait, that's where I'm going to.
If you think it can be done, why is government not doing the needful?
INEC will have on the register 2 million registered voters. On the day of election, actual voters.
17 million.
No, 500 with card readers.
Okay, with card readers,
500,000.
Yeah. So what
that tells you is that the register is over-bloated.
Yes.
And so you have situations.
Where do you put? No, Barrister, I slightly disagree. Where do you put the people that are completely disenchanted? Where do you put people that...
In the last election...
I understand what he's saying.
In the last election,
yes.
I was part of those ad hoc staffs that helped INEC in distributing PVCs.
Okay.
the process of collecting PVC was Herculean.
Okay.
That's how we came in. That's why for me, I am saying don't leave what you ought to do now to the last point, because you see, voters registration ought to be a continuous process, but we wait until the elections. Election register, if you remember, INEC started innovation in 2010 when, after registration, they said they were going to run what they called then AFIS, Automated Fingerprint Identification System. And so, if you run the process through AFIS, AFIS will identify fingerprints with faces and names. And so, some registers reduced drastically. Governors were complaining that, oh, you are reducing the figures. But when INEC now introduced that card readers to vote, the figures further dropped. Yes, give room for a 10% that would be disenchanted. But you saw the mass, turnout of voters. You hear reporters on the feed. We were in the studio here. People saying the turnout was massive. But at the end of the day, when the votes are collated, you hear actual number of voters. Less than 50% of the total number of registered voters. Which, sorry, permit me to digress, which is why I have a problem with the process of recall. If 500,000 people voted for you, and now to recall you, you will need two-thirds of the total number in the registered. And so, INEC ought to have started the process of innovation immediately after the election. One, you bought the card readers from somebody. They have warranties. By ensuring that those ones that are not working, what have you done? Instead of leaving them in your store. Yeah. And then the process of this internet that you talk about, the way internet was in Nigeria in 2011 is not the way it was in 2015. It is not the way it has improved. A lot of people have more access. No, a lot of people have more access to data now than it was in 2010.
Okay.
And so, for a government that truly also, we're not talking about just the legislature, we're also talking about the executive. Because it is not everybody at the National Assembly that will not want transparent election. Yeah. If in the last assembly, Senator Udoma Egbe stood up and vehemently opposed the use of card reader, but today he's in APC. And so
he's embracing it.
He's embracing card readers now. And then also the same Senate did something fantastic. They have given INEC the leeway to introduce methods to be used for accreditation and voting. Okay. It is at their discretion. All right. And so, it is not enough
my challenge is not that.
Great. We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll take it off from where we end here. We'll be right back after now.
Exactly.
All right, gentlemen, we are back, and it's still Crossfire with Dapo and Isioma. And we've been discussing about national matters. How much of technology should and will INEC introduce into electioneering process for us to have a credible, tangible, acceptable, election process in Nigeria? I mean, you were trying to make some comments.
The point I was trying to make before we went on break was this. I don't have any problems with the use of technology. And we are all aware that in so many countries of the world, technology is being employed for several things. And we very much know. The issue that I have about we Nigeria is that consistently, we have systems that work in other places. We deliberately undermine them here. I would wish that we don't even go out for election day, especially in these days of we adopt biometric registration.
Yes.
You have your phone numbers. It tallies with your biometrics. With your phone, they should be able to send
Look
a code
at the way we voted during the Big Brother show.
Thank you. So you should be able
and you can
sit
assess how many people that voted.
In the comfort of your home.
But that technology probably encourages multiple voting.
It doesn't.
How do you check about it? It does.
Let me explain it to you. Let me explain it to you. You have but one biometrics. You have been registered, which has been registered against your number. And the software they will employ will be in a way that once more than one code
Once you
or
try the
receive,
second time,
it bounces you. So you don't have fear because all these things have been proven
D'accord,
all over the world.
d'accord.
But we don't want to.
Why is it that?
Look at today, you go to immigration. Some years back, I went to Abuja with my wife for her to go and do change of them. And it was a bizarre arrangement. You
Yes.
get there, you see piles of fire. And I asked the immigration guy, I said, common thing, just get the National Assembly to pass a law. I have a bank account which have my biometric, who have all my data. I should be able to go into a bank, pay government of Nigeria, and pay both for DHL. They will just transfer my details, and those people will print the booklet, and the DHL company, which will give even night post, big
Some
job
work to
doing.
do, yeah.
And night post will deliver, but they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
They want to deliberately keep the fight. They want to delay you so that you bribe them.
Okay,
So
gentlemen,
Nigerian
we
leaders
need
are
to move-
deliberately
we need to-
keeping things so difficult.
All
right, we need to move on now.
A
Yes.
movie, just a few seconds.
No,
Why
you
do you
would
think?
take a few seconds.
No,
I know
no,
you.
no. I want to ask you a question. Why
okay.
do you think that a traffic camera would take photograph of your car beating traffic light, and the next
Even with
day,
your own picture.
and then the
plate
next
number.
day
Yeah.
you get a bill in your
In
house?
Yes.
It's technology.
Yes, it is.
People are doing it. Why are we not doing it here?
Okay, big question.
A
Big
country
question.
that deliberately undermines census,
Yes.
deliberately undermines election. Even as I'm talking to you, we have about 4 biometric agencies in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Network providers are biometric agencies. They are collected our data. Banks have collected.
Yes.
You have
all
done
the-
national
all the
ID
embassies,
card.
national ID
Then
card,
you
and
have
then the
whatever.
Immigration will
you-
collect also.
Immigration
We
will
don't have
collect
no
also.
central data system. We do things as if we are confused set of people. In Ghana alone, common ID card that you use, the common ID card we use. Do you know that ID card
They
is
cannot
biometric?
even give us a
you use
social
it,
security
You use it
number.
for your banking.
After 57 years of existence.
You use it for your
It's
banking,
sad.
you use it for your election. So during elections, they don't go around doing registration. That ID card is what you use for your election.
All
All right,
It's what you use
gentlemen.
for your
Another
banking.
question
Gentlemen,
for you.
we need to move on here. We need to move on here. I mean, we cannot exhaust, all issues in one show, in 1 hour, but at the same time, my producer, I need to respect, what I've been given to discuss on the show. I wish that we can go ahead, and talk more about this because it's a very hot issue, if you're with me on that. Now, the budget, the 2017 budget, has been passed into law. It's been signed into law. Like I gave a build-up, when we were starting. 2015-2016 budget was tagged as, it was
Budget
more
of
like
hope.
a budget of hope because it was expected to alleviate the problems, the challenges of the common people in Nigeria. But that has come and gone. We don't even know how it was spent. I don't know if you felt it in your own local government. I don't know if you felt it in your local government. But unfortunately, I just know that it was a figure that we bantered. It was, and then the padding stories about it and all of that. Now, this particular one, I'm beginning to link a couple of activities, or antecedents, and it may be a coincidence. How come just about the time the budget was signed into law, the Senate president was freed from CCT? Is it possible that it was a condition between the executive and the legislative that to say, now, we're not going to rock the boat on this budget. We want to pass it. We know you guys need to work, the executive, because you have promised Nigerians a lot of things. And we don't want you to look bad before the 2019 elections. Now, peradventure, there were so many conditions attached to the workings of the budget to ensure that it is passed, and at the same time, it got the government's assent, and then it being passed into law. So many things are happening about the same time, and we're not so clear. Now, let's talk about the 2017 budget. Is it really and truly a budget that will solve economic issues in Nigeria? Do you think it's actually a budget that will cause economic growth in Nigeria? Do you think, again, the people will have anything to benefit from this budget? Knowing fully well that we have a lot of banter between the executive and the legislative already on the budget. They put a lot of things inside.
First and foremost, in April 2017, the acting president, Yomi Osinbajo, set up a committee to reconcile the Senate and the executive. It's all reported in the papers. Yes. And so, maybe, like you said, maybe one of the fallout of such committees is what we are seeing now.
Okay.
And then, also, on the issue of padding, insertion, I have said, and I will still say it here, the Senate is not a rubber stamp Senate. There are separations
And
of
we
power.
have to be careful with what? They amended.
Wait.
They did not pad.
No, wait. I'm amending, inserting, removing. The Senate is not a rubber stamping Senate. And so you don't expect
What
to-
exactly, what
Wait,
constitutional power does the Senate even have
allow
over
me
the,
now.
over the budget? Okay.
You don't expect them to, you just dump this document on them, they look at it and they send to you. No. Both organs of government all have powers to check each other. This same matter that we're talking about, why are you surprised that the Attorney General had not gone to court to ask court to determine whether the Senate has power to amend, insert, alter
Or pad,
the budget?
alter, whatever.
He didn't. Femi Falana went to court in 2014 on this same issue before Justice Gabriel Kolawole of Abuja, Federal High Court Abuja. And in 2016, he ruled that the Senate has powers inherent to amend, alter. It's like you sending a bill to the Senate and you say the Senate, in passing that bill, cannot amend any provisions of the
should just
bill,
pass.
that they should just pass it. No, the court has ruled on that matter. And so, but because we do not research here, I will give you the suit number, maybe because I don't have it in my phone here, I will give you. The court ruled on that matter.
But I want to disagree.
Wait, let
you
me
on this
finish.
point.
Let me
I want
finish.
to disagree with you on
Let me
this point.
finish.
Yeah, just-
You have a
just
right
hold
to
on.
disagree. And so the court ruled that even one of the prayers of the Femi Falana then was that the court should restrain the National Assembly from altering. And the Justice Kolawole said, no court in Nigeria has the power to do that, to restrain the National Assembly from doing what they ought to do.
Is there a constitutional
No.
provision
Yes,
empowering the Senate?
Yes.
But I know you're a lawyer. but
Without
hello-
any recourse.
Hello, sir.
Without any
Look, let me,
recourse.
no,
so
let me
the
round
monies will
up.
be raised
Let me
in case
round
it is
up.
padded.
Let me round up. And so, with that, against that backdrop, what you have, what I expected is that when you draw up a budget, it's the same party. There should be a committee of both the National Assembly and the executive to sit down, even before the budget is submitted, to sit down and harmonize issues so that when the budget gets to the National Assembly,
They won't have
it
to do
becomes
anything.
easy for passage.
You disagree on this?
Let me
Please
say
go ahead.
this
Yeah.
to you. We should be careful. We should be careful so that we don't reduce Nigeria to a banana republic. Although, sir, even ordinary students of government understands the difference between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, and what their expected role performances are. Sir.
Separation of powers.
So there is separation of power.
But they also-
hello,
the
sir.
student also understand there are
could you
checks
please
and
let-
balances.
Please,
Just go ahead and
let
make
me
your
say this. The National Assembly, I know, have what they call the oversight functions. Of to oversight the activities of the executive. So if the National Assembly can alter, remove, add, why didn't they prepare the budget?
No, it is
Why didn't they prepare
no,
the budget?
it is not.
Let me
That
give
is-
you.
that
Let me
is-
give
that
you
is
some
the
instance.
separation that you're
please,
talking
let
about.
me now give you the instances.
One body prepares.
Why? Hold on, sir. Let me let you know. Why? How can you have not gone? You don't have facts. You are preparing budget. You have not done your research.
What
you are not part of
insight-
those
what
planning.
insight does
What
the
insight
legislative-
do you have?
Wait,
What was the
insight
budget?
does the legislative have
Let me
on
even surprise you.
MDAs?
I just cited
Let me even surprise
a court
you. Hold on, sir. I want you to
judgment
give me an opportunity
for
to speak.
you.
Please.
Court judgment,
Please, hold
not
on, sir.
from me.
You cited that, but let me tell you. Do you know one of the funny things that happen even in this one? You find items that are purely local government projects inserted into federal government budget by members of the National Assembly. Hold on.
What you should
as
be
a member,
quarreling
as a
with.
legislator, sir, as a legislator, if you're a member of a constituency that require a federal presence that the federal government have not touched, your job was actually to forward that need to the executive,
for insertion,
for them
probably.
to insert, and for them to able to explain to you that this is what will be available in terms of income, and we may be able to do this or we may not be able to do
accommodate
this.
it.
At that level of the
Wait,
committee,
Dapo.
you would have been having
Dapo.
that discussion,
Well, I
and
seem to
you
be-
have
I seem to
presented
be-
it.
No, you
No.
can tilt anywhere.
No.
Whatever we say here
Yeah.
are mere conjecture. There is a court judgment.
No, this one is very
Oga,
clear. This one is very
Listen
clear.
now, Dakbo.
Okay.
Any matters such as this, the agencies of government that are statutorily empowered to interpret has interpreted.
Which the Supreme Court.
Hello,
sir, have
did
the
they
Supreme
tell
Court
you?
ruled on this?
Did they tell
Have the
you
Supreme
that?
Court
Where
ruled on
you
this?
listen now?
No, the highest
You
court.
wait
No, that a judge. Hold on. The reason why there is hierarchy of courts. The reason why there is hierarchy
no,
of
you
courts
don't
is
jump
because
into hierarchy.
Oga,
when
you
it
say
matter,
one judge sat
you
somewhere.
wait
The same kind of
now.
judge.
High Court judge.
The same kind
You
of judge.
wait.
High Court judge.
You
If the
listen,
Supreme
let's
Court
not
have
be-
not ruled on
That
it,
is the lowest-
it's the lowest court.
Let's not deceive Nigerians. Supreme Court don't jump into matters. Supreme Court rule on matters that are
has gone
taken
through?
to them.
Yes. Okay.
Did they tell you that the man that brought the matter appealed the judgment to even Court of Appeal? He didn't.
And
He's a senior
let
lawyer.
me even tell you of late,
listen
Fashola
now.
said, Fashola, the Minister for Works,
wait.
he actually said that they will be going to court. Actually, sorry, sir.
Not
that is
we will.
done.
I don't expect him to say we will be. I expected him by now.
Hold on a second.
No,
Hold on a second. Hold on a
he
second.
said that about
You-
some
hold on a
few
second
days.
there. Great. Hold on a second.
Let me finish.
Make it
The
quick.
matter was determined at the High Court. If you're not satisfied, you go upstairs, like we say in law. You appeal. From 2016
I want you to
Hold on.
address this. I want you to address this while you're discussing. Please, was it the executive, Nigeria's presidency, that took that case to court, or just one citizen who have not any?
Okay, all right.
Dapo, since 1999, there have been this issue of, does the National Assembly have powers to alter? Do they have power to amend? Nobody, not even the executive, had deemed it fit. If you believe that they don't have the powers, none of them had challenged such powers in the organ of government that is statutorily responsible to interpret.
Osinbajo made a statement.
Wait now,
Okay.
until 2014, when Femi Falana went to court, he joined the Attorney General, joined the president in the suit, joined the National Assembly, and at the end of the day, judgment was delivered in that matter. Not a single party appealed that judgment.
Okay.
Instead, what you hear is that, oh no, the National Assembly does not have powers to do this, and the National Assembly will say we have powers to do. That's what I am. What I am saying is, even Jubrin admitted that they have powers to alter. But what he's quarreling with was that the alteration were too much. That is why I am saying what you should do.
Why is the alteration
It should not be too much.
They cannot be too much. Since they have power to alter, they can alter anything, to whatever extent they want.
That is why, for me, before you even lay the budget before the National Assembly, you ought to sit down, because it is a political party, sit down, harmonize issues, so that when it gets to the National Assembly, it becomes easy. There won't be banters. But if you're talking about whether they have powers and that it's on that note that you're going to hinge that, oh, the National Assembly cannot alter the budget, I tell you, no court.
Okay, President, no, before your comment, President Yemi Osinbajo, after receiving the budget, went through it, and eventually on the day of assenting the budget and signing it into law, he made some statement. There was a speech he made, and part of the things he said was that the legislative arm of government, talking about the National Assembly, do not have the powers to actually...
Those were his opinion.
Exactly, his opinion. He's a professor.
He's a professor of law.
He's
a professor of law. And it's been a debate.
Attorney General
of Lagos State.
He's an authority in law.
Are you saying you want to respect Osinbajo's authority in
If
law?
you respect the authority of one High Court judge, you don't respect the authority of a professor of law and former Attorney General of the state. That is unfortunate.
Exactly.
Liberals, can you allow me to speak? I want to address. Hold on.
Is not a judge. It is opinion on that matter.
Hello, sir.
The judge had heard argument on both sides and rule on it.
Hello, sir.
And do you know that it is what the court said the law is? That is the law.
Because they are the interpreter.
Another court
I know you're a lawyer. But do you know that? Do you know?
Osinbajo's statement becomes a mere opinion.
Liberals, you're a lawyer. But do you know that a lecturer, a lecturer in a university, even though he is not in the judiciary, is graded as well? Yes. Do you know that? Yes, you can be transferred from the university,
from the classroom,
according to your grade.
Look,
in law, in judiciary.
There's what we call, I told you, in law, the position of the law, as it's in the statute books.
That is not
the
in doubt.
moment the court interpret it one way or the other.
Yes.
Even when a lecturer is teaching you, he tells you, this is the position of the law, but as decided by the court in so and so case,
And
this is the interpretation that you will give it.
And
Does that make the interpretation of the court? Hold on,
where is
does that make the interpretation of
the
the court
provision
an
in law?
opinion?
Where is the provision in
No,
law?
the interpretation of the court becomes the law.
Okay, sir. There, where is
The
it?
interpretation
Liberals.
of the court now becomes the new position of the law.
Can I ask you-
Until another court
even when
interprets
it is
otherwise.
misinterpreted.
That is accepted.
Even when it is misinterpreted.
Yes, that is accepted
Okay,
very much.
okay.
But all I want to say to you is that beyond that statement of the judge or whatever judgment he has given, very understandable. Even in law, are you going to tell me that the status book also permits what is so-called constituency project? Where is it
Look,
in
let me-
Nigeria's
let me
constitution?
tell you,
Hold on, sir. Let me tell you. Nigerians
I
have been
thought that the
practicing
powers
constituency
is to
projects.
verify, not
and,
to
and
amend,
some of the
not to
constituency
correct,
projects,
not to insert,
when you-
not to
hold
do
on.
anything. They should read
Since you
through
said
it.
that they have the power to alter, they
If
can
you read
alter to
through,
any
what is
extent.
the essence of
and
you
then what
reading
is the
through a
essence of having
document?
an
No, you can
executive?
query that this is too much.
What is the
But
essence
not
of
that you will now
executive?
put,
See,
it's just like an
let me
auditor.
tell you.
It's just
No.
like an auditor.
Thank you.
I give
No.
you a book of my
Auditor-
company,
auditor-
and then you start putting your own fees.
No. Auditor audits what had been done.
Yes. Executive have done it. They've done the budget.
No, look,
the
listen,
office of the
there
budget.
are two different things
Okay,
here.
okay.
This is what we are going to spend.
Yes. Which
We are
is the
seeking
budget.
approval for this amount that we want to spend. And the National Assembly says, in granting that approval, this amount here is too much. We reduce it to this.
Okay, which is fine.
Wait,
Which is
now,
okay.
Is that
Which-
an alteration?
hold on.
Okay,
Is
that's
that
an
not
alteration. Okay.
And you agree that it is fine.
That is okay.
That's what I'm telling you.
But what
about
is what is this
insertion?
idea? What is
That's
this
what I'm
idea?
telling
That-
What about
what-
adding to it?
the analogy,
Allow me
the
answer
analogy
you
you
two
gave, the
questions.
analogy you gave
You
does
asked me a
not tally
question, will
with
you allow me
where
to
you see somebody bringing.
when we all shout, the listeners will
Okay,
listen.
okay.
Wait, let me
It's
answer
got
his
45
question.
seconds to
Let me answer
to
your
make
question.
his point.
Let me answer your question. I might have a problem with the issue of constituency projects. I have a problem with it. That does not mean that I will sit down here and say that the National Assembly does not have the powers to alter the budget. No, I won't do that. I have a problem with constituency project because it is not your responsibility. It is not your responsibility if you feel that your constituency needs a project, because also Nigerians contribute to it. The only way we know that our senators and our House of Assembly members are working is when we see projects, not the law that not the law that they passed. And so we also contribute to it. So I might have a problem with a legislature having constituency project, but I can't sit down here to tell you by virtue of the judgment, Justice Kolawole's judgment, that the National Assembly does not have powers to amend the budget.
Okay,
Okay,
so
you have just
since you
10
agree that the
seconds,
National
yeah.
Assembly has the powers to alter, and the altering as of today includes boreholes in primary schools in villages,
Yes.
which is primary responsibility of a
Either
local
federal
government.
local government or
The
state
alteration includes sorry, sir, the repairs of primary school, which is a statutory responsibility of state and local government. Now, the alteration remains that you take a large chunk of money made for Second Niger Bridge, which is what they call a famous federal government project. You decimate it and you share it amongst the senators
All right,
to go and now produce boreholes in their villages.
That's
Baba,
why I'm
join us
telling you.
tomorrow for another
mindless.
episode of Crossfire. I'm listening
That's
to you.
why I'm
You're
telling
Sammy.
you. That's why I'm telling you that what ought to be done so that we don't dissipate energy back and forth with the National Assembly and the executive. They are in the same party. The presumption is that they share the same ideology.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.